Hello, YouTube, and all the YouTube honeys out there. I know it's been a while since I've done anything, and it's been on my mind and on my heart. I've been going through a little things, health-wise, and just other little things. But I had to do something, wanted to do something for this month. A little something I thought about, and I hope you like it.
What month is this?
This month is February.
Okay.
Anyway, I hope you appreciate this. It took me a little while to put it together, but I hope you find it enlightening. I call it a raised fist for truth. This is a story of how two black athletes helped wake up America and the world with a raised fist. The year was 1968. And it was crazy times in America and in the world. So much was going on at one time. The opposition to the war in Vietnam, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. in April of 1968, and then the assassination of Robert Kennedy in June of that year. America was on fire, literally and spiritually. At this time, the Olympic Games were going on in Mexico City, and as you know, the games must go on. Two young black men who would participate in the games were sprinters, Tommie Smith and John Carlos. Both were students at San Jose State University. They both were aware of the political issues of the day and the oppression of black and brown people around the world. Their history teacher, Harry Edwards, founded the Olympic Project for Human Rights, which included Smith and Carlos as the leaders. The project focused on the welfare of black people globally and advocated for black athletes. They fought for the hiring of black coaches and barring South Africa from the Olympics for their practice of apartheid, which you know was the demeaning treatment of black people. This was 1968, and it was well in practice in South Africa. The brothers were not being militant, but America thought so. They, the brothers, believed some sort of statement of what they believed on a moral and humane standpoint. They wanted to do something and had to. They wanted Muhammad Ali's boxing title restored. Remember, they took Ali's title because he was not going in the military because of his beliefs. They also wanted not only black coaches to be added to the United States Olympic team, but also black members be added to the International Olympic Committee. They wanted these changes. If not, some of the athletes were thinking of boycotting the games altogether. But then they decided they wanted to protest on an individual basis, and that's what they did. Just 10 days before the start of the games, Mexican military troops and police officers shot into a crowd of unarmed student protesters, killing over 300 students. These things and their concerns about human rights influenced Tommie Smith and John Carlos to make a political statement at the 1968 Olympics. Now, the moment after winning the gold and bronze medals in a 200-meter race, a white Australian named Peter Norman won the silver. Then the two, Tommie and John, stepped up to the podium, wearing symbolic beads, scarves around their necks, and black socks, no shoes to symbolize poverty, and a black gloved fist raised and their heads bowed as the Star-Spangled Banner began. The stadium went eerily quiet. Said John Carlos, it was something awful about hearing 50,000 people go silent. He said it was like being in the eye of a hurricane. Then the booing. Some shouted the national anthem in defiance. John Carlos said the shouting, to a point, seemed more like a barbaric call for arms. In the U.S., the Olympics in 1968 marked the first time an American network had broadcast the games. Before then, you had just 15 minutes of snippets and updates. Now it was 44 hours of coverage. It was a big deal what they did in America. 400 million eyes was on Smith and Carlos. To them, it was a peaceful protest to the powers that be in America. Even though you won these medals, you are unpatriotic, un-American. And those were the nice terms thought of them. To say they suffered for the stance they took would be putting it mildly. Their marriages fell apart, couldn't get employment for years. But the pair briefly became NFL stars. Smith playing 3 seasons for the Cincinnati Bengals, and Carlos played 1 year for the Philadelphia Eagles and another year for a Canadian Football League. In the decades that have passed, the two said it was not a power salute, rather it was an act. It stood for the community and power in Black America. In more recent years, America has been a little more forgiving. In 2008, they both received the Arthur Ashe Award for Courage. President Obama has shown honor to Smith and Carlos, who were asked in 2016 to become U.S. Olympic Committee ambassadors. These young men stood for something, and they suffered for it, but they had to take a stance, and they believed what they did was right. When I saw this myself back in 1968, it tripped me out. I couldn't believe these brothers stood up there and raised their fists, bowed their heads like that, and it shook up America and the world, because they never saw nothing like that. But it's happening now. So whether you drop one knee, sit down, or raise a fist, even though there will be repercussions, follow your heart, be true to yourself, and take your stance. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And later on, I'm probably think if I could think of a little few stories out my life that I can put on my wife's channel, I'd do that. But thank you again for listening. And you all take care, be safe. Much love. Bye now.